Hey, it's Andrew Downs. I'm proud to support Three Beards Media, and I would love to work with you. If you need merchandise for your company, organization, band, softball team, whatever, I can help. From name brand apparel to promotional items, large orders or small, online stores, and more, I can help your brand stand out. AKC Marketing is local, based in Johnston, and we are an employee-owned business, so our costs are low and our turnaround times are fast. But most importantly, we give you personal service to make sure you get exactly what you're looking for. Email me at andrew@akcmarketing.com or find me on social media, and let's make some cool stuff together. Now sit back and enjoy this Three Beards Media podcast.
Would you like to sample some of my nuts?
Woke up this morning, saw the light, city's heartbeat in the night, walking shadow streets of grime, cloaked in secrets lost in time. Echoes whisper names of old, whispers of the tales they told. Concrete jungles call my name, grit and glory fuels the flame.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Old Man Strength, brought to you from the AKC Andrew Downs Marketing Studio, and primarily sponsored by Revelton Distilling Company, and of course our friends at Greenberry Realty, Dan Douglas, and Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage. I'm your host, Chris Shipley, as always joined by my partner, Aaron. What's up, Aaron?
Oh, just getting by on the day-to-day like everybody.
Is that a Kraken's sweatshirt that I see that you're wearing today?
No, it's just an Iowa State sweatshirt.
Oh, I missed. I saw the colors. I thought maybe it was a Kraken.
No, it's just a faded gray situation going on.
How's it going?
I mean, it's going. It's been, a rough couple of weeks. As you know, we put a dog down and found out our other dog has cancer. So, it's not been great.
Yeah.
So I don't have anything to make fun of you for like I normally do, because I've been completely checked out on your shenanigans on Twitter and everything else. So I don't have much as far as that goes. I've just been dealing with the home front.
Well, I would much rather you be able to make fun of me. So sorry to hear that.
That's all right. It was a good run, 12 years. So, for a dog, that's a good run of it. And he was the best. So,
well, let's see if we can have a little bit of fun tonight, and we'll see where we'll go with it. So, oh wow, somehow I lost browser.
Solo show for me. It's just me on right now.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can't see you though.
Let's see. Browser's lost connection to your camera. Make sure your right camera is selected. Hold on.
Oh, well, nobody wants to look at you anyways.
I know, right?
Oh.
Hold on. Technical difficulties. I don't even know what I'm doing around here. I don't know why you put me in charge. Why do you ever put me in charge?
Because I don't want to be in charge.
Boom. There we go. Look at that. It's probably because I you know what happened is I hit that little touch up my appearance option earlier so that it would give me a nice complexion, and the whole system just broke.
It just said nope.
Not happening.
Oh, there
what
you go.
The fuck? Seriously. Okay.
Jiminy Christmas.
All right. Well, we'll talk a little bit. We'll bring our guest on as long as you guys can still hear me. Nobody, like you said, nobody wants to see my face anyway. So, I don't even know what to do. We're falling apart over here. So this gentleman I've been following on Twitter. I have ran into him in town a couple times. He lives here in Norwalk. He is probably one of my favorite meteorologists here in Iowa. I really enjoy him. Chris Kuball from WOI TV. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing well, Chris. Hey, I think I know all about these technical difficulties, so I'm right here with you. Perfect to be on with you, I guess, when we go through stuff like this, huh? That's always fun.
Well,
I guess
Chris is so technically savvy. If he was a meteorologist, he'd wear a green shirt.
Well, yeah,
I understood
we
that
can talk
reference.
a little bit about that.
I understood that reference.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Good to be on with you all today. Yeah, I've run into Chris a few times, Aaron. Nice to meet you here tonight for the first
Same.
time. But yeah, good bumping into Chris across town. We just chatted up about the cyclones and the ambulance and all things that's well in the world, I guess, right now.
I think I may or may not have ran into you at the gym too. Do you work out at the Anytime Fitness as well?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. So I just happened to follow you, on Twitter, and I was like, hey, that's my gym, and I see you. And yeah, I tell you what, Chris, you put in a lot of hard work too. You're looking good, man.
well, thank you. Yeah, I'm down 60 pounds total. I did switch and went to Farrell's. I'm documenting my Farrell's journey. Although I'm not gonna lie, I was not very happy this morning. I mean, I've lost 8 pounds since I started Farrell's, but I'm telling you right now, this camera thing is gonna piss me off tonight. I can just say right now. So it's gonna be one of those nights that I've only lost 8 pounds. Only lost 8 pounds, but in the last like 4 weeks, I think I've only lost 2. So it's frustrating. I feel like I'm putting in the work and I should see the numbers go down, but I realize that I'm probably gaining muscle and things like that. But it is a little frustrating, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you're repurposing it, and that's good. I'll tell you what, about 6 years ago too, I did the same thing. I lost about 65 pounds, and I've since put about 30 back on, but I've held steady since. And gosh, I tell you, I feel better now than I did, years ago when I was in my low 30s, and so completely different kind of way of life. It totally is. It's a mindset you have to get into, and it's a good one. What are you doing over there?
I've now resorted to my in camera on my laptop at this point. That's what I've resorted to.
Oh,
jeez.
You'd think we were a media company or something.
You'd think that we'd spend some of this sponsor money.
Uh-huh.
Hey,
Yeah.
We run into it all the time in the studio. Oh, I don't know. Maybe the laptop computer doesn't like you.
So,
right.
Surprised you don't have like a fancy 4K and a ring light and
I do actually. Thank you very much.
Try to make yourself look good. I mean, it's not going to help, but
I do.
Actually, I do too at the studio. At home here, though, I mean, it's so flipping dark in here. I'm using just random lights to.
Yeah, maybe it's karma for me making fun of Chris's setup when he was showing it to me before we went on air. So
it's all good.
Or I may or may not have made a reference about you. So maybe that's what it is.
Good stuff.
Well, Chris, why don't you? I'll give you a brief introduction. It's clearly not as in depth a little bit, but why don't we start here? Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you grew up? We talked a little bit before we came on the air. Tell us about where you grew up and kind of what that was like.
Yeah, so I was born in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and kind of bounced around the first couple of years of my life between Wisconsin, Iowa, and Kansas before settling down in Sheraton, Iowa. Lived there really most of my life. So Southern Iowa, home of Hy-Vee, might have heard of them. I from age 3 till I graduated, my parents are still there. My dad is a city councilman down there, and my mom, former hospital administrator. And yeah, we're probably one of the only families where our legacy was not working at Hy-Vee down there. So, one of the oddball things, I guess, about my family. No, my first memories largely from Southern Iowa, and I lived there really all my life until college. So I'm not quite born and raised, but definitely raised there in small community, and that's that helped mold who I am today. I think so. I've always had a love of weather, and I'll tell you, from I'd say age 6, I was always fascinated by just watching the thunderstorms. So what I would do, we had a big old early 1900s house, big old storm windows, and my bedroom faced the west, so I could watch those storms roll in, just sitting there all night watching them, and it's always what I wanted to do. So I grew up watching my professional colleague Ed Wilson. He was one of my driving factors to getting into this business. And if you've been around Central Iowa a while, you may remember, of course, John McLaughlin, and going way back, Gary Amble, Kansas City. But those were the key figures that helped really kind of mold me and getting me into this journey that is the crazy TV weather. We can talk more about that a little bit, but yeah, I grew up in Sheraton and to school there all, my entire life. And my dad owned a farm when we were younger. We raised hogs. We lived in town, but we just, drove out of town to go take care of the hogs. And that was pretty influential on me as well. One of the sticking points, it gives you a knack for hard work, living the farm life, so to speak. So that was always very impressionable on me, and really liked to do it. Showed hogs and 4-H and stuff growing up. Fairly active doing sports growing up, t-ball, little league, stuff like that, flag football. And then that transitioned in a small community, you play sports. And yeah, I was no good at it by any means, but played football, basketball, and track all through high school. And I just did it for the camaraderie. I was no good at it or anything like that, but it was a lot of fun just kind of hanging out with the guys, if you know what I mean. So, worked at the local pool down there. I was a lifeguard for 7 years. And, you want to drain yourself in the summer. That's one way to do it. Is just sit out there in the sun. Oh, my goodness. And also worked down at the Hy-Vee store, and then in college, I worked for the Iowa State University Research Farm as well, down in that area. And that was good experience too. That was my first taste at 40 hours a week, life in the summers. And that was hard work.
The research farm?
Yep. The McNay Research Farm.
That's not the hog farm, the hog research farm.
No, they focus more on grains, and I believe they have some cattle and lamb as well.
That's south of town there. And
yep. Yeah. So that I tell you what, I remember that job. Strolling in the first day, and I was excited. It was a good paying job too for the time. I was really excited about that. But I remember after the first day, that first 8 hours, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to do this for the rest of my life, 8 hours a day. And it just seems so insurmountable, man. It was crazy. But then, now on the regular, I'm working, 9-10 hours a day. And it doesn't faze me anymore. It's crazy, that mindset and how you kind of mature as you go through time.
Yeah. It's funny you said that. I was thinking, I saw that you had put something out on Twitter and Facebook about an hour ago. And it was like, man, he's going to come on in an hour and a half. He's probably sitting at home, still having to put that stuff out there. Is that a requirement that you have to continue to put that stuff out? Or is that just more stuff that you do to help connect with your viewers and things like that?
Yeah. So it's kind of a gray area, right? If you don't work, I always tell people, I don't get paid for Sunny and 75, right? I mean, anyone can do that. It's when the storms hit or the unique weather, the winter storms, the tornadoes, things like that. So I always think if there's something interesting to be told, you tell it. And it's kind of accentuated right now. I actually happen to be the only meteorologist right now at Local 5, but that will change. But for now, I'm trying to, kind of keep the presence even on the shifts where I'm not there. So much of it even goes beyond work as well. Like, I am a public figure who people, rely on me for information. So I have that key following. It's kind of like we have the brand of Local 5, all right? And then, there's also the Chris Kuball brand. So I have to kind of keep my presence there as well to, make sure everyone who's following me can still rely on me. So yeah, I'm really always working. If there's something interesting to be told, I'm there. Is it a requirement of my job? It's not written down as such, but I tell you, go a lot farther when you throw in a little extra work here and there when stuff is interesting.
For sure. Tell me about outside of work right now. What are some fun things, or what's a good hobby that you have that you like to do?
Sure. So one of my biggest hobbies, and I don't really publicize it all that much. You'll probably understand why. Is
that's okay, because only about 7 people listen to this show.
Well, I'm a big coin. So
you're what? I'm sorry.
I'm a big coin hound. So
Yeah.
coin collecting, specifically like coin roll hunting. So one of my knacks is, I go around to local banks and just say, hey, can I get some coins from you? And I'll take them home and I'll rip them open and throw them in a bag and pick out, the ones I want, throw the rest back and take it back and just do it all again. I actually do have a YouTube channel where I post, a lot of my finds and stuff like that. So
That's
yeah.
interesting.
It is. And, I specifically focus in on half dollars. And there's some strategic reasoning behind that is they just don't circulate, right? So say the unfortunate someone passes away and they had a coin collection, someone doesn't know what they have, they just go take it to the bank and dump it back in. Well, half dollars don't circulate. They kind of sit there for a while, right? And so then I can come along and I ask banks, I was like, hey, can I buy some half dollars from you? And every now and then I get really lucky and you find some of, I'd say the key thing I'm looking for is silver, but there's so many different errors and varieties and uniqueness to each coin that you can really find. So I'm big into that. And I've been doing it pretty steadily now for the last 7 years. And you'd be astounded at just what you can find in circulation. I'll say it was just Friday night, actually. I had some rolls of dimes. So you can pack it your own, you can buy the little tubes and stuff them full. Well, that's what I got. I went to a Wells Fargo in Des Moines and got me a bunch of rolled coins. And I kid you not, I opened up this roll and there was a coin from 1868 that popped out of it.
Wow.
Old obsolete denomination. They called a 3-cent nickel. And I've never seen one, pop out in circulation before. It's about the size of a dime, but it's worth 3 cents back in the day. And it's just crazy to see that pop out. I had to be quiet. It was like 1 a.m., but I was recording that too. And I was like, I have to contain my excitement because everyone's sleeping. But and it's not that I'm going to get super rich by doing it, but every now and then you find a cool find. And I'll say that coin I found, that 3-cent nickel, was, in the condition it was in, it was a little worse for wear, but it's still, worth $40. So better than the 10 cents I paid for it, right? So
way better.
Yeah, exactly. So I do it a lot for the silver aspect of it, particularly in the half dollars. And I say on average, I average about 300, 350 silver half dollars I find each year. And it's really crazy that you can still even do that in 2025. So.
Yeah, that's quite a few. Okay. On the coin front, kind of not about coins per se, but it's been in the news, right? The talk of dumping the penny.
Yeah. And Canada did that, 2010 or 2012 or something like that.
It's been a little while ago, yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, it's probably time. I'm just glad they didn't say half dollars, honestly, because they don't circulate, so why make them? But yeah, if it's costing 3.5 cents to make a penny, I mean, I get it. There's people out there, and I'm not one of them, but there's people out there that will save the copper penny, so anything 1982 or newer, just because they're worth, like you said, 3.5, 4, 5 cents, just depends on the copper value. But there's people that hoard all that, and that's kind of like what I do with the silver. But I think it's time, and I know that there'll be some backlash about it, but it's not going to affect how you buy things. It's like if you get 5 cans of peas or something at the grocery store, and each one is 67 cents, they'll just add up the total, and then they'll round up or down to 5 or 0. In the end, are you really going to notice it as a consumer? No. Are you going to notice it as a business? No, because law of averages. It's all gonna balance out. So the nostalgia factor of it, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna hate it, the fact I can't just go find pennies as regularly, but yeah, it's probably time. So nothing costs a penny anymore.
Right,
well,
yeah.
and they're not making them anymore, but they're not taking them out of circulation.
No,
either,
but
right?
and we were just kind of talking about this in Canada. They haven't done it now for over a decade, and they're harder to find now. I mean, they're still there, but
sure.
they just don't circulate anymore because they don't make them. So That's kind of interesting, though.
I always, whenever somebody says that they collect coins, I always go back to that scene from Throw Mama Throw Mama Off the Train. You guys ever seen that movie?
Mm-mm.
No, because it doesn't exist.
Yes, it does.
It's Throw Mama from the train.
That's what I said.
No, you said Throw Mama off the train.
Okay. Did you know what I was talking about? Do you know the scene I'm talking about?
Yes.
I don't. I'm not familiar with that one.
Oh my God. Are you serious? You don't know what
I'm
scene
serious.
it is? All right. Hold on. Keep talking, Aaron. I'm going to find this.
Are you going to pull it up?
Danny DeVito flick.
What vintage are we talking here? What era?
80, mid 80s?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I was
Maybe
born in
early
84,
90s.
so,
That's a good question.
yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah. I have to check it out. I'm always up for a good new flick.
All right. Here we go. I think I found it from the trailer section. Hold on.
1987.
Okay.
All right. Here we go.
Never showed it to anyone before.
Oh boy.
Oh, right. I'll look at it. No, it's okay. Show me the collection. No, you don't mean it. Show me the damn coins. All right. This one is a nickel. This one also is a nickel. And here's a quarter. And another quarter. And a penny. Hey, nickel, nickel, quarter, quarter, penny. Are any of these coins worth anything? No. Here's another nickel. Why do you have them? What do you mean? Well, the purpose of the coin collection is that the coins are worth something, Owen. Oh, but they are. This one here, I got change. My dad took me to see Peter, Paul, and Mary. This one, I got change when I bought a hot dog at the circus. But Daddy let me to change. He always let me to change. Here's my favorite. This is Martin and Lewis at the Hollywood Palladium. Look at that. See the way it shines on a little eagle?
All right, Chris.
That's such a great movie.
Well, I mean, that's how it works, right? I mean, so much of it is the emotion that's attached to some things. I mean, so I get it. Yeah. I have a few more coins than a couple quarters, a couple nickels, and a penny now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I actually was given some collector coins when I was young by a friend of the family.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even remember exactly. I've got like a large cent. So it's a, Chris, that's a penny that's bigger than a quarter.
Yeah. That's the way they used to do it.
Way back in the day. Morgan dollar, a couple of things like that.
Yeah, I have a few Morgans and a few piece dollars as well. I tell you, I used to do it as a kid too, growing up. But, by the time you hit 12, 13, you needed money for like candy and stuff like that. So I of course, popped out a couple and eventually I had nothing. But, it was funny. What got me back into it, I was just at the bank and I happened to, how they have the trays with coins in it. I just happened to glance at it. I was like, oh, those are some silver coins. So I asked to buy them and that got me back reignited in doing it. But yeah, that's one of my big passions besides the weather. I'd say that's probably my biggest hobby. The other thing that I like to do is obviously cycling sports. So I get season football tickets and watch almost every basketball game I can. But yeah.
So do they have a Final Four team this year?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's on paper, I think they do, but then sometimes you just get surprised. And of course, this last game stunk that we had a couple of our key guys out. So, I think they have a chance. If things are clicking as they enter Big 12 and NCAA, I think they can get it done, especially with Momcilovic back now. So I think he's a big catalyst. And actually, this guy right here.
Chatfield.
No, but buddies of mine got me this shirt because I was kind of giving some crap early on, and he had a little rough stretch there as we got the middle part of the Big 12, but he's bounced back the last few games too. We did it. So
rumor is that they held Gilbert out because they knew Jones was going to be sick. So they thought he's been dinged up, probably not going to win that game. So let's go ahead and sit him too. And man, there was a couple of times where it looked like it was pretty close that if Gilbert was in there, maybe we would have had a shot to win that game.
Oh man, that cylinder foul. Oh, that was hard. And I don't want to blame the refs or anything like that, but
that's
that
okay.
was
I do.
key moment we can go back to. It's like, oh my gosh, because I think we were 2 points at that point, 2 or 4, and it's like, oh, what if, and they got 3 off that too. So it's just a whole lot of what ifs going from that point. But I don't know. I don't know how you can change that one around and change that from an offensive foul to defensive in that moment. But
yeah,
I'm not a Big 12 ref, so.
Well, I don't know that those guys were either. So, or maybe they were. They were just as bad that they fit right in.
Yeah. So I'm big into the Iowa State stuff, particularly football and tailgating. Of course, we got a big old tailgating crew too. And going to school, I went to Iowa State 03 to 07. There's a lot of bad football in some of those years. So,
yeah. I don't know. That was a curve.
Particularly 03 and 07.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so then you have the tailgating, and we got a good crew that tailgate. We, get in lots right around Hilton, and I mean that's the prototypical Saturday in the fall, right? Is just getting all the tailgating gear ready and going and having a good old time for the day. Tell you, it makes it a little easier being back in Iowa going for it. Before coming back here, I've been at WOI now for just under 2 years. Before that, I was up in Rochester, Minnesota. So that was a good 4-hour drive. And I'll tell you, some of those night games or early morning games, those are some brutal drives sometimes.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and get a break, and then really want to dive into what we brought you on. I want to learn your journey to Iowa State and why meteorology, and I'd love to dig into some things. So let's get a word from our sponsors, Revelton Distilling Company and Green Beret Realty.
Making great tasting bourbon requires the perfect combination of ingredients, conditions, and time. The longer it rests, the better it tastes. Revelton Distillery's new single barrel bourbon is made from 80% corn, sourced 100% from Iowa farmers. And unlike mass-produced bourbons, each barrel of Revelton's single barrel bourbon is unique, proofed on when it tastes best. As they like to say, it'll be ready when it's ready. And to ensure the highest standards of quality and flavor, owners Rob and Christy Taylor oversee the production and bottling. Every single barrel. Iowa born, Iowa aged, Iowa bottled. Try the new single barrel bourbon from Iowa's own Revelton Distillery. ReveltonDistillery.com. When energy meets precision, anything is possible.
I'm Carter Hawley, the Chief Energy Officer of the Iowa State Cyclones. I'm full of energy on and off the court, but nothing gives me more energy than helping families find their dream home. And that's where Green Beret Realty comes in. They're more than just realtors. They're a team dedicated to getting things right for you and your family, just like we get it right on the court.
No basket. That was on the floor before the shot. Out of bounds. Come on. Can you believe that? You can't take that away from me.
That call was absolutely terrible. Are you guys cautiously trying to be this bad? I mean, does your mom not love you?
Have you seen how old my partner is? My back hurts already from carrying him all night. And I've heard enough out of you.
So you're gone.
Fine.
Jim, are you blind? Basket's good. We've got a three-pointer. Sometimes it takes a team to get the call right. And when you're buying a home, you want a team that makes all the right calls. That is Green Beret Realty. And here's the best part. When you buy or sell a home through Dan at Green Beret Realty and mention this ad, he'll make a donation to the We Will Collective, helping student athletes like me thrive on and off the court.
That call's so easy, even we can make it.
Green Beret Realty, because getting the call right means everything.
And we're back, and shout out to the refs, Three Blind Refs, Ben, Sam, and Jim from that commercial. They host Three Blind Refs on Three Beards Media Network every other Wednesday night. They're gearing up for the women's tournament next week. I think they get their announcements of whether or not they're going to be on the court there, and I think they're going to finish this season with a live episode from Wells Fargo Arena as well, and have some of the other referees and some of the Iowa high school officials on. So be sure to check out their show every other Wednesday night on the Three Beards Media Network. Chris, speaking, making the right call. So you're graduating from Sheridan High School.
Yep.
We always ask ISU guests here, why Iowa State?
Well, truthfully, that's the only place I could go is stay in state for tuition. I did grow up an Iowa State fan, obviously, so it was the logical choice for me. But seriously, it's the only place in the state of Iowa that has a meteorology major. So Iowa State was it. I didn't even look at any colleges. Once I got my acceptance, that was it. So went to Iowa State. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. I'll let you finish. I
went to Iowa State, and it's just a great time. So many long-lasting friendships made there, both in my major and out of. But yeah, it heavily focused in the meteorology of it, especially in kind of the research aspect of it and learning the science of the weather. So you're talking like equations and deriving them from this to that. And, that wasn't exactly what piqued my interest, but it was more of the operational side of it. So the forecasting and, understanding how thunderstorms develop and work. And so that part of it really drew my attention to it. And some great professors up there, a couple of which are still practicing up there. Shout out to Dr. Gallus and Flory as well. Still kicking it with the kids. And, for as big as Iowa State is, it's a really small community. That is, I graduated, I think, with 13 or 14 kids in my class. So just thinking of a big university, it's just that small of a major. We were really close. And really, when it came down to it, we did everything as a class too. Like when we hung out, we all went out as a class, everyone together. So it was a good time.
So standard Iowa State question then, where did you live when you were on campus?
Okay, I was old RCA in Welch.
Okay, yeah. I was in that building.
Second floor Cassell.
Okay.
And I kid you not, on my room, on the ceiling, and this was my mom's gripe the entire year because they never took care of it, but someone had drawn an anatomically correct drawing on the ceiling of a naked dude. And of course, I had the top bunk on the wall, so that's like 3 feet from your face. And we could never get that painted over for some reason. They just never ever came and did that. But Cassell, that was an experience. That was a fun time. So they had the porch there, the one that faced Lincoln Way, on that level, and we'd put the keg outside on the porch. So when the resident advisor with the RA came by, nothing was ever going on. It was outside. So yeah, that was a good time. Then after that, I lived at Frederickson for a few years, and then I was down on Stanton for my senior year and after. For the half year, I was still down in Ames after graduation. The Ghetto Yellows, have you heard of them?
No, I have not.
That parking garage there on Stanton, the old Estos there? It was right behind there in the center of the block. There's just really no access to them. And they were, they lived up to their name. They're still there, though. They're surviving. Estos isn't anymore, RIP.
I was 14 years prior to that, so I don't even. I sadly never ate at Estos. all these iconic places that our friends on Twitter talk about. I've missed out on.
I think they were. I think Estos was after me too because I don't remember it. And I left.
Yeah, that started I think in the mid 2000s. So when I was there,
Yeah, I was say I left in 2000. So
yeah.
That's
and there's old Lumpies, and that was a dive down there in the basement under Peoples.
Yeah.
Gosh, well, let's see. Let's overlap with you guys. It would have been Size Roost. Was that there?
Yep.
It was there. Now, I've never been in Size Roost either. I actually never. I didn't make it long enough on campus to actually legally get into those places.
Okay.
I made it about 3 semesters and then had to go tuck my tail between my legs for a couple semesters at DMAC. And then went back, but I lived in Ankeny and drove back and forth because that was the smarter option for me at that point.
Yeah, I got you. Welch Ave Station as well. That was a staple.
Yep.
Gotta get your pissed off Japanese minnow farmer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that took me through college scene. I didn't get a job right out of college. I was very diehard that I wanted to break into the television market. And at that time, it was still pretty difficult to do. I'd say it's probably easier now in this day, given the changing landscape that media is going through. But I got my first gig November after I graduated up in. Well, at the time, the station was in Austin, Minnesota. KAAL was the call letters. And about halfway through my tenure, they moved the station to Rochester, and I was left owning a home in Austin. So I had to start driving 40 miles each way to and from work, 2 to 11 at night.
That's a little hairy.
Yeah, you start really getting skittish of deer. Let's just say that. Clocked a couple in my commuting on that. But also, I'll tell you, I-90, it's completely different than I-80. I'll tell you, at midnight, there's sometimes you don't see another vehicle out on that interstate. So a little different. Yeah. And I'll tell you, I loved it up there. The winter, especially. I'm a huge winter fanatic. Huge.
Okay, we got to go. I got to hang up on you now.
Getting the blizzards.
I think I bitched to you 3 times this week about the weather.
We'll get to that in a little bit. Just the blizzards, the pure power, the wind and snow up there, of course, is flat as a pancake. And it just always I was always so amazed by that. And then in the summertime, we got the severe weather as well, some very potent storm systems that I can recall from my time up there. But yeah, it was always winter. That was just the raw power. And I'll tell you, there was one winter, I ended up with a 10-foot snow pile at the end of my driveway, and we actually dug tunnels down so the kids could make a slide through it. And that was just a ton of snow that winter. And that winter was also, I think we hit 31 below with a wind chill of 62 below or something like that. And that's the coldest I've ever felt. Just insane to feel that. But I love winter so much up there. It's, 10,000 lakes. So you get a boat, right? Well, I lived in one of the counties that didn't have a natural lake. So that's out of the question. Go figure. There's 4 counties that don't have a natural lake. I lived in one of them. So I opted for the snowmobile. And that was a fun way. The kids went to school, and then, I had a couple hours before work. I'd just go bum around with a snowmobile. That was a lot of fun too. So makes me really love winter better.
let me ask you a question. It just dawned on me because my wife is a teacher. So next to meteorologist, teachers might be the next ones that are most obsessed about weather. Like she knows the weather like ahead of me, no doubt.
Yeah.
But the narrative out there is, they're canceling school now for extreme cold and things like that.
Okay.
And I think there's a lot of question by other people, not me, because my wife tells me the reason why. But why do you think the shift of more safety that way because of those extreme colds, and why do they cancel school?
Right. I used to walk uphill knee-deep snow both ways to school, right? In a blizzard. Look, modern technology has really, helped us out and get us after, say, like a winter storm. People like to say, back in my day, well, you didn't have the plows like you do now to help clear the roads and things like that. So it's not necessarily things have gotten worse. But I think when it comes to the school aspect of it, why take the chance, and that's just it. the safety is forefront now more than it ever has been in the past. So school's calling off for cold that we did a couple times last week. That's fine. If it means a kid doesn't have to stand out there in the bus for the bus stop not prepared, because we all know that there's some that don't have the appropriate clothing, and that's a whole nother topic, but that's the people who we're trying to protect here in this kind of situation. So all for it. If a 2-hour delay gets you to a better time period where it's a little bit warmer, great. I'm for it.
All right. I got a question and then I'm going to lead into asking Chris some questions here, but Shipley, sorry, I forgot we have 2 Chris's here. It's too many. What's your favorite strange weather event and or term?
Okay. Well, my favorite term is derecho, and I think we're all well versed in that one now, right? But I've been using it forever, and I learned about it in school. But like I don't play a lot of video games, but when I do, I will use derecho as kind of my name. I play a bit of Red Dead Redemption too, and that's my horse's name is derecho. It's also the license plate, so if you see derecho bumming around town, that's me. So I have it on my license plate. So that's my favorite term. As far as like most impactful events, and it's not recency bias by any means, but the Greenfield night, the Greenfield tornado night, that was the most impactful night in my 17-year career by far. Just watching that one come in. And I remember saying it on air. I remember saying, you have to get underground, for this one going into Greenfield. And we had a debris ball. I kid you not. It was 5 miles wide. And so you just knew it was a monster. Heartbreaking images too, coming in. And in the moment, like my mindset is not there, like just the gravity of it all. But that night going home, it's about a 20-minute drive for me from the studio to the house. But it was like 1 a.m, and it was just pure silence all the way home. It was a slow drive, silence, and just kind of you realize what happened. And in some of those big events, it really hits us. And I'm sure I'm speaking for a lot of meteorologists in the community. In the moment, you don't realize, the gravity of it all, but afterwards, you certainly do reflect, and it hits you hard. So Greenfield is number 1 on that list for me. As far as winter aspects, I had a crippling blizzard in Minnesota in February of 2019. I saw roads close I never would have envisioned ever closing. Trains completely swallowed up by snow. When you see a state DOT plow in the ditch, that speaks volumes, right? That even they couldn't even make it through. So that was an impactful one. And then in the year 2010, we had, you remember the Wadena, Minnesota tornado? There was another one down in Albert Lee. It was an EF4, and we had an outbreak in southern Minnesota. That one was an impactful. And that was an infancy of streaming too. And we had that, it was a big old wedge just streaming on air with us. And I remember that one distinctly. And then the year prior, there was a tornado that missed our studio by a half mile. So that was impactful too. So yeah, a lot of powerful events. Last year just takes the cake as far as the severe weather aspect. It seemed like in April and May, we were just go, go, go. Every single week we had something going on. So that was pretty crazy.
All right, Aaron, you can ask me your questions.
Okay, Chris. Let's test your weird weather terminology.
Okay. Oh, goodness. All right.
Knowledge.
Okay. All right.
So we mentioned derecho, and all I did was Google odd weather terms. So
okay.
Do you know? And this one we have Iowa State people that have actually talked about this one. Do you know what a haboob is?
I don't. No, I don't. I have no idea. I mean,
it's not.
Then I don't know.
Shout out to our friends over there at We Will and Brent Bloom, because he talks about haboob every once in a while.
Well, I mean, why would you when you have a chance to say that?
Yeah, it's a giant dust storm. So
Yeah.
think the big dust storms that roll through Phoenix
Okay.
and places like
Okay.
that. So that's a haboob.
Okay.
How about this one, hoarfrost?
A hoarfrost? Does that have anything to do with this? It's as cold as a witch's tit out there in a brass broad? Does it have anything to do with that?
No,
Yes.
that was the frost that forms on a clear night, just from elevated humidity. So it turns everything white. You know,
Who names this stuff, Chris? Like,
right?
dude,
Well, and you know who wouldn't turn down a chance to say hoarfrost on TV and not be in trouble for it?
Another one is it looks like, I don't even know if this is the right pronunciation, but a swalocking.
Yeah, if Chris doesn't know, then I don't know.
Terms, and some of them could be foreign. I'm not taking any credit for this.
It very well could be.
But it's a term used to describe a lot of fog.
Okay. And what was that again? I'll have to use that.
The swalocking. SWULLOCKING.
You got to write it down.
All right.
Your producers are going to be like, "What is that?"
All right, I'm going to throw you a bone, Chris. How about sea smoke?
I'm gonna get. Is it like the steam coming off of like the like if it's hot, like hot air and it's cool water? There's like steam, and then that's what it is.
Yep,
that's a total guess. Thank you very much.
Pretty hard. Well, I mean, that one's
got me through college.
That's a pretty logical term.
C. It's like C on the exams in college. I just chose C. That's what I chose.
C or H. If you didn't know the answer, you pick C or H.
Right. Yes.
Right down the middle.
And last one. Do you know what a sundog is?
Yes, that is actually the glare of the sun, like off a window or something like that, right? Or no, I'm sorry. No. It's when the sun starts to rise up and it kind of mirrors out and like it looks like it's got more than one sun, right?
Right. The ears kind of.
Yeah.
I call them the ears off to the side.
Yep.
So that's
do you know why it happens, Chris?
I do not know. Atmospheric pressure?
Not pressure.
No. Am I right? Atmospheric something?
I didn't have to look this one up. It's ice crystals in the air. So the sun's coming through crystals and getting
Isn't that a
shot
rainbow?
all over the place.
That's not a rainbow?
Yeah, it kind of gives a rainbowish type of effect.
Yeah.
But it's just the light, bending through it. And there's so much more too. There's a halo. You have, different things way up high too. And on some of the coldest days with blowing snow, you'll see some vivid sun optics, I guess is what I'll call it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I took meteorology 101 or whatever.
Oh my gosh!
I remember a couple of
exams
things
in there.
What's that?
I proctored exams in that class.
Oh yeah, I didn't. I say I did well at it because it was like at 8 a.m. or something like that. But
I'll tell you what, it's hard, especially the program at Iowa State is very heavily based in calculus and physics. So if math and science aren't your strong suit, you'll have our time. We started with probably 60 kids in our class, and I think I told you we graduated 13 or 14.
Yeah.
That's a huge drop rate, for the major, just huge.
That's probably why I didn't like or didn't do all that well, even though it was the 101 version. I've never taken physics or calculus, so
I took physics 101, science for the non-scientists.
How many times?
I only took it once. It was my senior year because I needed a science credit to graduate.
And you didn't take rocks for jocks?
I didn't. No, it was science for the non-scientists. That seemed like a no-brainer. And true story, I probably went 5 times to that class. Took the final. Had no idea if I passed. Was so scared that I didn't pass that I didn't even go check, and drove the entire 45 minutes from Des Moines to Ames for graduation, not knowing if my name was on the graduation list. Because before you'd have to go into they put your name up on the board. Well, for me, Like it was just your social security number and your grade, and it was on a piece of paper. And I was just so afraid to go look to see if I had passed. I never went and checked. So graduation, I'm in the car with my parents. We're driving to Ames. I don't know if I'm graduating or not. I have no idea. It's the most stressful 45-minute phone car ride of my entire life.
And did you?
And I graduated. I went in there. My name was on the list. But I'm telling you, man, that was, and I think now as an adult and as a father, like if that would have been my kid and we'd have got there and he wouldn't have told me that he wasn't going to graduate, I may have lost my mind on him.
Can you
Like,
imagine?
what are you thinking? What?
Oh,
But
like your dad wouldn't have lost his mind at
no,
you.
he would have, but I can understand why he would have now. Like, right? Like I look back now and go, what a moron I was. Like, what was going to happen if my name wasn't on that list? What were you going to do next? It's like, what a moron. So yeah, that was science for the non-scientists. I'll never forget that class.
I told my wife and kid before I came downstairs to the basement that I was going to ask. I told him, I said, my first questions for this guy are going to be, is the world flat? Yes or no?
No.
and is climate change real? Yes or no? And they told me I couldn't do that. My family is no fun.
Yeah. Well, I'll just touch on the climate change thing. Yes, I do believe there is human-aided, global climate change happening. I like to focus on weather though, and that was my schooling was on the weather, not climate. I know enough to know enough, but I'm not going to get into an argument with anyone on it. And it's just so polarized, political. I don't want to do that. I more enjoy the weather science rather than the climate science side of things. But I just think is like, you really think there's 7 billion people on this earth and we have zero effect on it. And that's kind of hard to, fathom. So I just leave it at be good stewards, leave things better than when you got there kind of thing. And yeah, that's generally how I roll. I only get 3 minutes to talk about the weather. I can't throw anything more into it. I can't go into the climate route.
Yeah. Now,
Go
so
ahead, Aaron.
I get up in the mornings and I throw on my local news.
Yeah.
Are you involved? Do you do the morning, the evening news? I don't know if we actually talked about that. Right now,
Sure.
you're doing everything, I guess, maybe, but
right now the way it is we've gone through some company changes, and we've had a lot of people depart our weather team, including the legendary Brad Edwards, who put in a almost 30-year career at WOI, but he chose a retirement route. And so right now I'm working on the evenings, so my shift is 2 to 11 in our morning show, which we're going to hire back these people, but that morning shift is roughly 2 to 12 in the opposite side of the spectrum. So that's a brutal shift. I always tell people I'd rather go to bed at 2 in the morning than wake up at 2 in the morning. I much prefer the evening shift, and that's what I'm doing. And I hope to stay on the evening shift here as we go forward. So I'm not in that chief role yet, but that's one thing I'm going for. I'd like to do.
yeah, because I was going to ask you if you did the mornings, like the morning people that I watch, they get wrangled into doing like the pet tricks segment and the reading the school lunches for the day.
Yeah, it's a complete 180. I think that morning shift is so much more lighthearted and jovial, and like you're almost anticipated to or expected to bring that energy, so to speak. And I'm not going to say I'm not full of energy, but I'm not the best morning personality, I guess. I'm more analytical and like spitting facts, and I'm always digging up new stats and stuff to present forward. Like just, the last 60 hours, we saw a 60-degree temperature rise. That's some of the biggest rise we've ever seen in that length of time ever. So, I mean, that's kind of the realm I'm at versus, talking about the pets coming into the studio and stuff like that. So my personality, I feel, is better suited on the evening. Now, can I do it? Yeah, but at 3 in the morning when I'm tired, no, I would rather be sleeping.
2 questions, and then we'll get into my fake wind chill question. But about a year and a half ago, I went and saw Willie Farrell, who's another one of our content creators with Bill Blank on Bill and Willie's podcast. And he actually had as his MC, Ed Wilson, and Ed would read some of the viewer mail and messages that he got. So best message or funniest message you've ever gotten that you're comfortable telling us about. That's the first question.
You know, I don't really have one that sticks out because honestly, there's so many that have come through. I've shared a couple on social media before, just kind of like, I got called Kuball one time. I was like, all right. It's like, that's not my name. But, you know, a lot of it comes in when there's severe weather around. And you would just be blown away the people that have to watch their Bachelor, you know, or Bachelorette. And the emails that come in, they're disgusting sometimes. I wish I would have dug on this a little more because there are a couple, but I can't verbatim bring them up for you. They're just so off base. It's like, you just like to hear yourself talk and blah. It's like, no, I would rather not cause chaos over The Bachelor. Thank you very much. And have people email me. You know, it's a job where you really have to have thick skin and you have to, you know, let it go in one ear and out the other. Just let it bounce off you. I'd be lying if I said it didn't, you know, take a toll if it's constant, because it does. I mean, you don't want to have a bad perception of you, but yeah, you definitely have to have a thick skin to go through some of those. And yep, they come in for sure.
Other question is in recent years, it looks like there's been an influx, or at least from the outside looking in, an influx of meteorologists that have left the profession. Amber Alexander had left. Mm-hmm. There was a young gentleman that was on air in local Iowa that just quit because of threats and things like that. I'm going to flip it a little bit. Tell me the most rewarding part of your job.
Oh, saving lives, hands down. And we got a clip from people. We got a note from people saying you saved our lives, and that just means so much. That's why I got into this, to keep people safe. And I know without a doubt that my coverage over, you know, my career has, and you can't quantify it in any way, but you know it has to have saved lives. And just from the Greenfield tornado, we had these 2 ladies, you know, make a point to message us, you saved our lives. You told us to take cover. And, you know, they didn't know what was coming at it. And it was something big. So, but.
Great. Okay, go ahead. Aaron, do you have a question before I ask him about this fake?
Well, no, I was going to say we might want to take a break, our next break, and then come back with that. It can be our Wind Trust Mortgage.
I've got a wheel to spin for that. Okay, all right.
But I mean, we do need to probably take a break.
All right, let's get a break from Kyle Lehman at Wind Trust Mortgage, and then we'll come back and
go on and on.
We'll go on and on.
All right.
Whether you're buying, selling, or refinancing your home, or if it's simply time to renovate the one you're already living in, you need an experienced mortgage professional to help you analyze your financing options and to make sure the closing goes smoothly. And that's exactly what you get when you call Kyle Lehman at Wind Trust Mortgage. Kyle's experience and expertise, coupled with Wind Trust's rates and programs, ensures you'll get the mortgage that's right for you. You may even qualify for down payment assistance. Before you reach out to a realtor, call Kyle and get pre-qualified, empowering you to start shopping for the home of your dreams. Call Kyle at 515-473-0546. Kyle Lehman Wind Trust Mortgage, 515-473-0546.
I'm sorry, Chris, but I just had this feeling that you're really dug in on this probably very incorrect opinion you're going to have. It might take some time to break you down on this. So I just want to make sure we had enough time.
All right. Fair enough. First of all, I jokingly say fake science because I shouldn't say that. But here's my dilemma. It feels like at -20. then it's minus 20. That's all I'm trying to say is if it feels like that, then it's minus 20. And in my defense, you used a graphic today that used wind chill as the barometer for the coldest, but then when you gave today's temperature, you didn't use wind chill, you used regular temperature and then showed the difference.
I could have used the same because the wind chill and the air temperature were the same this afternoon. But
Can I take a crack at this first?
all right.
And so, Chris, here's the thing. Think about a thermometer.
Yes, I've heard this argument, but go ahead.
The thermometer doesn't know it's windy. It just knows what temperature it is.
Right. Okay. All right.
So you can't. There's only one way to tell the temperature, and that's with a thermometer.
Okay.
Of some sort.
Right.
And so when you add the wind to it, then it makes it worse. Right?
Yes.
So you have to have a true measurable number.
Right. Which is the wind chill, right?
No, that's the thermometer reading. That's why they give you temperature, and then they give you wind chill based off the speed of the wind. There's probably some kind of mathematical
wasn't there some movement
I don't understand where they factor in this is based off of this speed of wind. It's going to drop the temperature by this much.
Yeah,
that's why they're two different things. You boner.
Did they not say like a year ago they were getting rid of wind chill? They were not going to use that term anymore. Do I not remember that?
Oh, no, you're talking like there was a wind chill advisory. They got rid of those.
Oh, okay.
And they took, because sometimes you had 20 degree below zero nights, which are dangerous, right? But you didn't have a wind chill, so you had no headline to talk about, for the National Weather Service to convey that threat. So they just lumped them all together, air temperature and wind chill together under one headline. We call them cold advisories now, which I don't think that's the best name. It was a cold advisory. No crap, but then there's extreme cold warning as well when things get really cold. We saw, a couple of those the last few weeks, and I'll just say, some people do, like yourself, think wind chill is just some made up thing. There is a difference.
I know that it's that cold. I know that it's that cold. I'm just saying we should just say that's how cold it is outside. That's all. I
wish we could.
Don't tell me it's 1 degree when it's really going to feel like minus 20. Just tell me it's minus 20. That's all I want to know. I think that the wind chill is free. I think the wind chill is an actual thing. I'm just saying let's use that as the reason as to why it's so cold.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't go to my wife when she says, "Hey, you should probably put a hat on," and I'll go, "Yeah," but she's like, "It's minus 10 and minus 10 wind chill," and I was like, "Yeah, but it's only 2 degrees outside." Like that's not going to fly for her.
Yeah, tell that to my kids too. Oh my goodness, the kids just, hey, it's cold outside and they're wearing shorts.
Right? Yeah. That's because kids are built different all of a sudden.
I agree with you. I mean, there's a huge difference between 10 below and 0 wind, and then having a wind chill of 30 below. And you're right. I mean, it's like that's how it feels. That's the way it should be. And I guess that's why I don't really mention like wind chills when they're marginal. So like if a wind chill is 20 degrees, no one cares, that kind of thing. So I only really throw them in there when we get down into a level where it makes sense to use them.
And it's extreme.
Yeah. Kind of like the humidity.
Fair enough.
In the springtime when, it's not humid, I don't need to talk about the humidity or dew points unless it's extreme on the other end of the spectrum. But there's some people that want you to talk about everything all at once. And I'm like, I don't have the time to do it.
I only got 3 minutes, people.
Oh man, and I'm like blazing through my graphics. I try to pound 10 pounds of crap into a 5-pound can every time I'm producing one of my shows. So
you can get those things so much easier now than you used to, because every phone's got a weather app on it, and it'll tell you all of those things.
Sure, and that's one of the reasons why I don't focus so much on the currents. What we call them. I'm really forward based in my thoughts, and probably 3/4 of my graphics pertain to the forecast, because you're right. Everyone has info on their phone right here. So what can I add of value to it? And that's where people like myself really step in with the expertise and explaining things, what's going to happen. And I was just kind of thinking earlier today, like we have the dew points up. The ground's still cold. It was very warm today. We might have some road frost in the morning. Just something I thought of. I'm not sure it's a slam dunk, but just thinking through things logically. I mean, that's stuff that your phone app isn't going to tell you.
Fair. Yeah. All right, we're going to ask the actual Kyle Lehman Wintrust Mortgage of the Pod here. So the way this works is we've entered in some random little questions, fun questions into this, what I'd like to call the Wheel of Death. We'll spin it. Whatever question comes up, you have to answer. Ready?
Okay. Yep.
All right, here we go. And it is, if you could instantly master one thing, whether it's a sport, language, or talent, what would it be and why?
Well, I would master the art of basketball. I've always found that fascinating for a sport. I was never any good at it playing, like no good whatsoever. And that's one I see it as so fascinating and artistic to watch some of these players, especially the nimble ones, just kind of twirl and twist and do anything. I think it's amazing how they do that. I wish I could do that. Another one would be to understand the mind of my kids.
I thought he was going to say a woman for a second.
Well, or like, that. I mean,
amen, brother.
Honey, I love you. But we were kids once, right? And now seeing my kids, which, I have a 13, 11, and a 5-year-old, just seeing them now, it's like, we all say it, right? Were we like that when we were kids?
What are you thinking?
Yeah, exactly. That kind of thing. So to understand that, just the mindset of, let's just say other people, not necessarily just kids, maybe our wives. I don't know. Love you, honey.
Yeah, just one time I would like to be able to feel what it feels like to like dunk a basketball like that. Just one time. That would be amazing.
It's pretty great.
I can tell that.
Not on a 2-foot basket.
Right.
We're not talking about
Buddy,
that.
I used to be an athlete.
You could dunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, sports was listed there first, so that was the first thing that came to mind was the basketball. I love watching it. I'm no good at it. Like even pick up basketball, like noon ball or something like that. Like I'm no good. You don't want me to play, so.
Yeah, I don't know why you don't believe that I could dunk.
I'm sorry.
I'm almost 6'3", and then when I was in college and stuff, I weighed like 189.
I got it. It's hard.
Didn't we all weigh much less when we were in college?
No, actually, we didn't. Not all of us.
I could do the throw it up and let it bounce off the floor and catch it and dunk it stuff.
Shut the front door.
Do we have video evidence of this?
Pull out the VHS tape. I want proof.
Oh, jeez.
No.
I have a VHS tape of me being hypnotized once.
Maybe if we could ever talk to Tony Alford, we could get him to admit that he threw me an alley-oop one time in a pickup game.
I will find him to get him on.
He probably won't remember it. But.
All right, we got one final segment, Chris. This is called the STFU segment. It's sponsored by... Not really sponsored. We invite people to donate to the Young Women's Resource Center in honor of Steph Copley, who was a guest on the podcast and famously told one of the hosts here to shut the fuck up so she could finish her sentence. And we thought it was so great that we wanted to make it a sponsored segment and try to help people at the same time. So I'm going to play a quick note from Steph about the Young Women's Resource Center and how you can donate to them. And then when we come back, Aaron and I have to shut the fuck up and you can say whatever you want with no repercussions.
Okay.
Hey everybody, it's Steph Copley, the woman behind the STFU segment on the Old Man Strength podcast. When I told the guys I wanted to sponsor this segment, they recommended that I make a charitable donation instead, so that's what I did. I chose the Young Women's Resource Center in Des Moines, Iowa. They're a nonprofit that supports, educates, and advocates for girls and young women ages 10 to 24. Their whole goal is to make sure that these young women become strong, self-confident, and successful. And if you know me at all, you know that aligns with my goals as well. If you're interested and would like to donate, check them out at ywrc.org and donate today. And remember, don't forget to STFU and listen every once in a while. Thanks.
Okay, Chris, any subject, anything you want. No
Sure.
repercussions.
So I'll just keep it in my realm to which I work, which is the media. And we all know that term is thrown around so loosely now in this day, and often negatively as the media. The TV world right now, as we know it, is going through what newspapers did about 20 years ago. Information is everywhere now. And your local media is such a valuable asset, so much so on the local level, your checks and balances. And I just want to say that everyone who I work with is very professional and balanced, and the media is here for you to keep checks and balances on businesses and politicians and things like that. I've never worked with a greater group of people than I do right now. They're so professional and awesome at their work. So kudos to you for doing what you do. I can't imagine. But the term the media, I hate it. What does that mean? We are a bunch of journalists, and we're just trying our best to spread the word. So often on, social media, it doesn't necessarily have to be right. It's just you're first. Okay. And sometimes first is wrong. And so we have to go through the extra mile to vet information and make sure it's 100% correct before going to air with it. So we may not always be first, but by God, we're trying to make sure that we are right. These people live in your community and are great citizens. Just respect. That's all.
Well said. Well said.
That's right.
All right, Aaron, anything else to wrap up?
No, I don't think so.
Perfectly said, as always, by my partner, Aaron. Well, this is another episode of Old Man Strength from the Three Beards Media Network. See what I did there?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow Chris. Chris, where can everybody follow you? Obviously, WHO TV, but where are you at on your social medias?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, X, Blue Sky. I think I'm even on Threads, though I don't dabble around on there. But I do most of my social engagements over on Facebook, but I do a lot on Twitter as well.
Great.
Yep.
All right. We are live again this week with Sigh of the Storm and Hawk's Eye View, and I think Three Blind Refs goes this week. So check out the rest of the content on the Three Beards Media Network. Shout out to our sponsors again, Revelton Distilling Company, Greenberry Realty, Dan Douglas, and Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage. And as always, all of our pods are broadcast from the AKC Andrew Downs studio. I am Chris, and my host, Aaron. Chris, so much. Thank you so much for hopping on, and we are out of.
Echoes whisper names of old, whispers of the tales they told. Concrete jungle.